What's up, guys? Welcome back to The Right Side. Today I want to delve into the US Constitution's purpose and meaning. I've noticed that many people often misrepresent the Constitution and its historical context. But before we get into the video, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to support and help the channel grow. And if you like the video, hit the like button. With that said, let's get into it. The U.S. Constitution was penned in 1987. Its introduction paragraph, a powerful declaration, reads the following: "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America." This paragraph helps set the tone for the rest of the document and outlines its overarching goals. The Constitution was ratified after intense debate over the Articles of Confederation, which were found to be inadequate for managing the growing nation's needs. This led to the pivotal Constitution Convention in 1987, a turning point in American history where delegates from 12 states, Rhode Island did not attend, convened in Philadelphia. The original plan was to revise the Articles of Confederation, but instead, the delegates drafted an entirely new constitution, creating a stronger federal government with distinct branches and powers. This event significantly influenced the nation's governance. This new constitution had several features. Number one, the Constitution established a federal system, dividing powers between the national government and the states. Next, it created a government of three branches to ensure a system of checks and balances. Next, there was a bicameral legislature, where the legislative branch was divided into two houses, the Senate and the House of Representatives, to balance the interests of large and small states. Next, there was the executive branch. The creation of a presidency provided a singular executive authority to enforce laws and conduct foreign policy. The judicial branch was a federal judiciary, including the Supreme Court, was established to interpret laws and resolve disputes. The Constitution was signed on September 17, 1987, and 9 out of 13 states required ratification to become effective. Ratification debates occurred in each state, with Federalists supporting the new Constitution and Anti-Federalists opposing it. The promise of adding a Bill of Rights helped secure the necessary support, and the Constitution was ratified by the required 9 states in 1788, taking effect in March of 1789. In 1791, the first 10 amendments, known as a Bill of Rights, were added to the Constitution in response to concerns about individual liberties. Now that we understand the what and how, let's take a little trip through history real quick, and let's look into the why. The American colonies declared independence from Britain in 1776, leading to the Revolutionary War, which ended with the Treaty of Paris in 1783. The Articles of Confederation, adopted during the war in 1777 and ratified in 1781, established the first national government but created a loose confederation of sovereign states with a weak central government. Post-war America faced significant economic difficulties, including debt from the war, inflation, and a lack of stable national currency. Under the Articles, the national government could not impose taxes and relied on voluntary contributions from the states, leading to financial instability. The lack of a strong central authority led to disputes between states over boundaries, trade, and tariffs, creating tension and fragmentation. States operated independently, often to the detriment of national unity. An armed uprising in Massachusetts, led by Daniel Shays, known as the Shays Rebellion, highlighted the government's inability to maintain public order and protect property rights. The rebellion underscored the weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation and the need for a stronger central government. Delegates from 5 states met in Annapolis, Maryland for the Annapolis Convention. Delegates from 5 states met in Annapolis, Maryland for the Annapolis Convention to discuss trade and economic issues, but recognized the need for broader constitutional reform. They called for a convention to address the inadequacies of the Articles of Confederation. The framers drew on their experiences with British colonial rule and their understanding of classical republics and confederations. They sought to create a government that balanced federal and state powers, ensuring neither tyranny nor anarchy. The proposed constitution faced intense debate between Federalists, who supported a strong central government, and Anti-Federalists, who feared it would threaten individual liberties and states' rights. Federalist papers written by Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, and John Jay argued for ratification by explaining and defending the Constitution's provisions. The Constitution comprises 7 articles that lay out the governmental structure's rules. Article 1 discusses the legislative branch. Section 1 establishes the legislative branch of the federal government, the Congress, which is bicameral and consists of the Senate and the House of Representatives. Section 2, the House of Representatives, members are elected every 2 years, must be at least 25 years old, be a citizen for 7 years, and live in the state they represent. Representation is based on state population, and the House is the sole power of impeachment. Section 3 introduced the Senate, where senators serve 6-year terms, with each state having 2 senators. Must be at least 30 years old and be a citizen for 9 years and live in the state they represent. The vice president is the president of the Senate but votes only to break ties. And the Senate has the sole power to try impeachments. Section 4 talks about elections and meetings. States determine the times, places, and manners of elections for senators and representatives. Congress must meet at least once a year. Section 5 talks about rules and procedures. Each house judges its members' elections, returns, and qualifications. A majority constitutes a quorum to do business, and each house may determine its rules and discipline members. Section 6 touches compensation, privileges, and restrictions. They are privileged from arrest during attendance except for treason, felony, and breach of peace, and cannot hold another civil office while serving in Congress. Section 7 touches upon the legislative process. Bills for raising revenue must originate in the House, and bills must be passed by both houses and presented to the president. The president can sign, veto, or allow a bill to become law without his signature. Section 8 talks about the powers of Congress. It lists Congress's specific powers, including taxation, borrowing money, regulating commerce, coining money, establishing post offices, and declaring war. It includes the necessary and proper clause, which allows Congress to pass laws necessary to carry out its enumerated powers. Section 9 limits Congress and prohibits certain actions by Congress, such as suspending the writ of habeas corpus, except in emergencies, passing bills of attainder or ex post facto laws, and granting titles of nobility. Section 10 proposes limits on the states, saying that states cannot enter into treaties, coin money, pass ex post facto laws, or grant titles of nobility. States cannot levy duties on imports or exports without Congress's consent. Article 2 creates the executive branch. Section 1 touches the president and vice president. It establishes the executive branch led by the president. The president serves a 4-year term and is elected with the vice president. It establishes the electoral college system for presidential elections, establishes qualifications, being a natural-born citizen, at least 35 years old, and a resident for 14 years. The president's oath of office is prescribed in this section as well. Section 2 is the powers of the president, saying the president is a commander-in-chief of the armed forces, can grant pardons and reprieves, it can make treaties with the Senate's consent, and appoint federal officers and judges with the Senate's consent. Section 3 outlines the duties, saying that the president must deliver the State of the Union address, can convene and adjourn Congress in certain situations, and must ensure laws are faithfully executed. Section 4 brings up impeachment, saying the president, vice president, and all civil officers can be impeached and removed from office for treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. Article 3 establishes the judicial branch, with Section 1 talking about federal courts, establishing the judicial branch headed by the Supreme Court, saying Congress can establish lower federal courts, and that judges hold office during good behavior, typically for life, and receive compensation. Section 2 outlines judicial powers, saying federal courts have jurisdiction over cases involving the Constitution, federal laws, treaties, disputes between states, and other specified areas. The Supreme Court has original jurisdiction in certain cases and appellate jurisdiction in others, and guarantees a right to a trial by jury in criminal cases. Section 3 talks about treason, where it defines treason against the United States, requires the testimony of 2 witnesses to the same overt act or a confession in open court for a conviction, and saying Congress has the power to declare the punishment for treason. Article 4 discusses relations among the states. Section 1 introduces full faith and credit, saying that states must honor other states' public acts, records, and judicial proceedings. Section 2 talks about privileges and immunities, saying that citizens of each state are entitled to the privileges and immunities of citizens in the other states, and provides for the extradition of criminals back to the state where the crime was committed. Section 3 talks about new states and territories, saying that Congress can admit new states into the Union, and that Congress has the power to manage and regulate territories and other federal properties. Section 4 creates a guarantee to the states, saying that the United States guarantees every state a republican form of government and protection against invasion and domestic violence. Article 5 discusses the amendment process, prescribing the process for amending the Constitution. Amendments can be proposed by a 2/3 vote in both houses of Congress or by a convention called for by 2/3 of state legislatures. Amendments must be ratified by 3/4 of state legislatures or by conventions in 3/4 of the states. Article 6 defines the federal power, with Section 1 being about debts, supremacy, and oaths, saying that all debts contracted before the adoption of the Constitution remain valid. The Constitution, federal laws, and treaties are the supreme law of the land. This section includes the Supremacy Clause, stating that the Constitution, federal laws, and treaties are the supreme law of the land. Furthermore, it requires all federal and state officers to take an oath to support the Constitution, and states that no religious tests shall ever be required to qualify any office or public trust under the United States. Finally, Article 7 discusses ratification. It prescribes the process of ratification of the Constitution. The Constitution would take effect once 9 of the 13 states ratified it. In my opinion, the Constitution's number one misunderstanding or misrepresentation concerns the nature of the relationship between our rights and the state. Many people portray the Bill of Rights as a list of things that the government grants to us or gives us. But the amendment's writings makes the Founding Fathers' intentions abundantly clear. In the Declaration of Independence in 1776, Thomas Jefferson brilliantly writes, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." The idea that our rights are not afforded to us by government could not be clearer. The Constitution is meant to be a safeguarding of our rights against a future government. The Constitution is meant to safeguard our rights from a future government. It lays out a procedure-laden system of passing legislation and an even harder process for amending it. Everything in the Constitution is designed to prevent a quick and sudden move from a tyrannical government. In fact, unlike a simple majoritarian democracy, our constitutional republic frequently experiences congressional gridlock if the houses of Congress are divided. If the House is closely divided 218 to 217, very little gets done, and that is by design. The founders feared the ability of a fierce 51% stripping the rights of the 49%. Note that going through the Constitution, you never heard me say or reference the word democracy once. The founders also knew that the wording of the amendments in the Bill of Rights were crucial for judicial durability. The First Amendment opens with "Congress shall make no law," not "the people shall have the ability." The Second Amendment closes with "shall not be infringed," not "shall be respected." The wording of these two amendments alone portrays the Constitution as a document of state restraint rather than a document of generosity. Instead of granting us rights, the Constitution holds the government back from impeding us. The deeper meaning behind the preciseness of the wording can be found in the nature of human interaction. What is given can be taken away. If the government does not create the rights to be given to us, they cannot take them. The Constitution makes this intention clear if people read the wording and understand the historical context. It is crucial to remember that one person did not write the Constitution in one afternoon. Every line of the document was fiercely debated over the course of 4 months in the summer of 1787. Nothing in the Constitution was added or left in out of laziness or editorial sloppiness. The Constitution was debated, refined, and reworded, repeatedly until they reached the final draft. In fact, the Bill of Rights, as stated earlier, was added by a compromise, as Federalists like Alexander Hamilton and James Madison already believed their system of checks and balances curtailed government overreach, but still, to be ratified, they added the Bill of Rights to please the Anti-Federalists. The Founding Fathers drew upon many Enlightenment thinkers across time and took into account their current struggle against Great Britain. The Founding Fathers crafted a constitution during one of those periods in the historical cycle when they rebelled against a tyrannical government and were acutely aware of what drives and enables such a government. They had the foresight to recognize what exactly enabled a tyrannical abuse of power and work together to create the greatest shield of liberty known to human history. Everything lined up perfectly when it came to the drafting of the Constitution. In the end, Current American society is at a unique moment in time. Our societal, economic, and cultural struggles are not historically new. Countless other civilizations and empires experience the same struggles in their life cycle. What is different about America is that we have the strongest constitution in history to ensure that the government does not seize the reins of power and become abusive. What is different about America is that we have the strongest constitution in history to ensure that the government does not take advantage of such an occasion. Governments will find any way to grow their power and influence. They will even go as far as to manufacture crises to gain public support for increased power and control. Those countries did not have a constitution like ours to protect them. The Constitution is a testament to the founders' foresight and understanding of the cycles of history. They recognized the dangers of tyranny and crafted a document serving as the greatest shield of liberty in human history. As a society, we must remember and understand this deeper meaning to ensure that the freedoms the Constitution protects are preserved for generations to come. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, I'd appreciate if you could hit the like button. If you'd like to support and help the channel grow, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell to stay up to date with all my uploads. Finally, whether you agree or disagree, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. I always look forward to engaging you guys in thoughtful and respectful discussions. With that said, I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.